this really cool gadget is going to allow me to actually draw on here too. So what we're going to do is start with the reading portion of the packet, okay? It's the first thing you're going to see. So this is going to be a nonfiction text with some multiple choice questions afterwards to gather comprehension, okay? So kiddos, in reading class, we do this all the time, okay? Think of this as like a read works. We're going to read this nonfiction text and then answer some questions. So what Ms. Schultz is going to do is I'm going to read through this as if we were together in class, but I also want to challenge you to do some independent work as well, okay? So what I'm going to do is kind of help eliminate some answers, but I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what the correct answer is going to be, okay? So you need to get your listening ears on and ready, and I'm going to start reading this starting now. So this is a nonfiction text, and the title is Dog Leads Conservationists to a Mole Thought to be Extinct. So, I want you to think about, what is the word mole referring to? Okay. What is the word mole referring to here? And so when we think about this, if you use the picture, you might think, okay, mole. What are some meanings of the word mole? If they're talking about a dog, are they talking about animals? Perhaps. You know, we can use those context clues to kind of help us inference what this is going to be about, all right? If you know what the word extinct means, right? If you know what the word extinct means, and then maybe you're starting to think about, okay, but they're finding an animal of sorts, a mole. What is a mole? And what does it mean to be extinct? Right, so here we have a picture, and I'm going to start reading the first 3 paragraphs. All right, starting with D. Winston. Ready? Here we go. D. Winston's golden mole was last seen in 1936. Uh-oh, here we go. And most people thought this type of mole had disappeared completely. But a team of South African scientists might have just rediscovered them. 4 scientists started this search almost a year ago, along with a dog named Jessie. The scientists are conservationists, which means that they work to preserve and protect the natural environment. The conservation organization, Rewild, ran the project through its Lost Species program. A species is a group of similar living things that can reproduce to have babies. So look, right here, they already identified a word and its meaning, okay? So species, they gave us the definition. It's a group of similar living things that reproduce, okay? Now, let's go back up kind of farther to the second paragraph. Here they're talking about a dog. Where do you think that this dog is? If you're thinking, oh, I bet you that this is the dog they're referring to, you would be correct. So nonfiction texts use pictures to help make connections to the information that we're reading, okay? Because it can be a lot of information. So always use those text features, right? Those text features here, the picture, okay? There's a caption here, right? That allows us to kind of already use information to help kind of digest this a little more, okay? Let's continue on the third paragraph. The moles have oil on their fur that make them look golden. They live in sand dunes in an area of South Africa torn up for diamond mines. Because the moles can slide through the sand without making tunnels, they are very hard to find. So, the conservationists used a new method along with their dog to try and find the moles. What do you think they're going to use the dog to do? What do you think they're going to use the dog to try and do? Okay, go ahead and make your guesses. Maybe in your brain. Maybe you want to make like a little note right here in this like little open portion. Okay, annotate. And what do you think? All right, moving on. Next subtitle here says Environmental DNA. Scientists Cobus Theron, J.P. Leroux, and Esther Matthew work for the Endangered Wildlife Trust as part of the Drylands Conservation Program. They teamed up with Samantha Mearnhart, who studies golden moles at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. To find the golden moles, the scientists searched around a sandy, dry area of South Africa's Northern Cape. They also used a technique called DNA harvesting. DNA is a molecule inside most living cells that carries genetic instructions. In all living things, these instructions tell cells which molecules to make. The scientists set out on a mission to harvest or collect a type of DNA called environmental DNA, or eDNA. This is the DNA that living things leave behind in their environment, such as skin cells, hair, blood, or poop. First, the team tested ways of finding eDNA in different parts of South Africa. This method is usually used in aquatic or water environments, Theron said, but Mierenhart led the team in making it work on land. Then they headed to Port Nolith in the Northern Cape to look for moles. So this whole paragraph is talking about ways that they're trying to find and identify, information on this mole. Okay, they're looking at its DNA. So it kind of described in that last couple paragraphs that they're using the DNA of this mole to try and find it. Now, another cool thing here is that they use kind of an unusual technique that they usually use for aquatic or water environments. Now, do moles live in the water? Look at this picture. Does it look like a mole lives in the water? No, right? Okay, but what's cool is these really smart scientists, despite having a method that only works for animal, living creatures, they're going to try and use it anyway to find the mole. So, it's kind of like in science when we kind of test a theory, okay? We hypothesize if it's going to work. So that's what they're trying to do here. They're trying to use a different method to see if they can still find this mole. So, I wonder if they're successful. Let's go ahead and read. The most unusual team member was Jessie, a border collie. Matthew got Jessie as a puppy and trained her to sniff out different species. Jessie became especially good at picking up the smell of golden moles. I wonder what Jessie is going to do. It says here at this paragraph, to find the moles, the scientists first travel to sites where they think moles would be. And then Jessie gets to work. When she picks up the scent of a mole, she lies down. Then the team collects sand from the burrow she found to gather any eDNA. So again, look, the dog, what it's doing is it's looking for that kind of smell. It's giving them a signal. Their signal is that she lies down. And then when she lies down, they see if they can find any DNA that kind of matches this mole, right? So again, that's like it's skin, it's fur, it's whiskers, anything that their really special scientific little gadgets can pick up and to see if they have found remnants of the mole somewhere. Okay? Starting at this paragraph, after collecting the sand, the team takes it to their university lab. They store it in a freezer that is -4 degrees Fahrenheit or -20 degrees Celsius to preserve it. The team then removes the DNA from the soil through a scientific process and begins examining it. So kind of like what I said, they use their really fancy science gadgets, okay? Typically like microscopes or things like that, and they try to see if they can find DNA within the dirt that they have kind of collected. Or the sand, they said, the sand. So that's very interesting, very interesting. All right, we are almost done. Last subtitle is Lost is Found. The eDNA confirms that the mole activity around Port Nolith does belong to the right family of moles. However, Mierenhart said the DNA could belong to either De Winston's or Van Zyl's golden mole. Van Zyl's golden mole is an endangered sister species. The endangered means that the species is at risk of disappearing forever. So there's a vocab word. Endangered means that the species is at risk of disappearing forever. After they look at all the samples, the team will be able to say for sure if they've discovered De Winston's golden mole. Quote, "It's not just about finding the golden mole," Theron said. It's also about the method they created, which could be used by other types of science. Quote, "What I love most is that this is a story of hope," Theron said. "We always read about how a species has been lost, but this is a story about how something has been found." Okay, so after reading that article, you have two options. First option is you can pause this and reread it, okay? It's always great to reread a text, okay? You can pick up on things that you didn't hear the first time, so it might be a good idea to pause this and read it a second time, all right? Now, if you were following along, I'm going to proceed and go through the quiz questions. Now, I want you to answer these on your own, but I'm going to read them for you, and let's see if we can get some of them correct, okay? So here's our quiz, and this is all over the article that we just read. Get a pencil ready, and here we go. Number 1, how does the author develop the central idea of the article? So the central idea, what is this article mainly about? Okay? Is it A, that by describing the process scientists used to rediscover the golden mole? Is that the central idea of the article? B, by explaining the primary reasons the golden mole is endangered? C, by comparing the golden mole with other types of moles in South Africa? Or D, by detailing the method the scientists used to remove DNA from soil? Go ahead and make your selection, and you can always pause to give yourself more time. Number 2, which of these statements would be most important to include in an objective summary of the article? We've talked about summaries in reading. What is a summary? Okay. So this is asking which of these statements would be most important to include in an objective summary. So if you were to write a summary, which ones of these options would be the best or the most important to include? Okay. Would it be A, the conservation organization Rewild ran the project through its Lost Species Program? B, they live in sand dunes in an area of South Africa torn up for diamond mines? C, the scientists set out on a mission to harvest or collect a type of DNA called environmental DNA or eDNA? D, they store it in a freezer at -4 degrees Fahrenheit, -20 degrees Celsius to preserve it. So which of these statements would be most important to include in an objective is kind of a big word. Just think of it as a summary. Which one of these would you want to include if you were doing a summary of this article? Go ahead and make your selection. And then we'll move on to number 3. Which option best explains how the border collie Jessie interacts with the scientists? Is it A, he follows the movement of the moles after scientists locate them? Is it B, she confirms whether the moles are De Witten's or Van Zil's golden mole? Is it C, she confirms the eDNA they collect from De Winston's golden mole? Or is it D, she identifies the mole's scents and lies down next to their burrows? Now this one, guys, there's a specific correct answer, and it is in the article. Which one of these options did they explicitly explain in the article? And which one would be the best? All right, number 4. Which option would be best to describe Cobus Theron's reaction to rediscovering De Winston's golden mole? So I'll give you a hint. This is probably towards the end of the article, okay? Is it A, it made him confident that he would rediscover other types of moles? Is it B, it made him optimistic that other scientists could use their methods? Is it C, it made him interested in pursuing a career as a conservationist? Or is it D, it made him certain his team would be able to protect the golden mole? Now, number 4, what I would really draw attention to are these kind of adjectives, okay? These description words for Cobus Theron, okay? Which one of these, and again, it's at the very end of the article, best kind of describes him, okay? Was he confident? Was he optimistic? Was he interested or certain? So think of a word. Which would best describe him? Okay, and again, he's the scientist that we hear the most about because he's setting out to rediscover this mole, okay? And we hear from him at the end of the article. So make your best choice. Or even go back and look for the answer. All right, so that, guys, concludes our reading for today. So take the time that you need. All right, and again, I want to see if you can get these answers on your own. All right, on your own. All right, good luck. I hope you enjoyed.